with rank 62, and she is currently designated as an additional civil judge at Deora in Uttar Pradesh. We are extremely delighted to have you, ma'am. Welcome to an hour with LawSikho.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Pertaining to this session, today we have this topic that how to practice for means writing, basically for the judiciary exam. Like we have seen that in judiciary exam, we have three stages, that is prelims, mains, and interview, right? But
Yeah.
yes, so in this we have seen that in preliminary exam, we have this qualifying stage where a person needs not to secure that 2 marks, just need to qualify the exam, right? On
Right.
the contrary, like though we have interview at the last stage, but still somehow that's not play an important role as compared to means writing, right? So what we believe
Right.
that means writing strategies and like plays a crucial part. So like we have a lot of questions for that, and I believe that you will be a great help to them, like for our participants. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. I'll try.
yes. Ma'am, so first of all, before we start something really important, I would like to ask something about yourself. So could you please tell something about yourself, your journey so far?
I don't really have a lot of very glamorous success story till now. It's just that a lot of I want to express this because it's a great what do you say podium for expressing it. That people usually believe that for competitive exams, if you're giving competitive exam, like they have this kind of mental stereotypes. Because I have met a lot of people who express this to me, that for a competitive exam giver you have a very different profile. So I want to give all the people who have been listening here or who would be listening to it in the future that you don't really have to stick to stereotype. You don't have to go around making things in the similar fashion like people have. So you don't have to go about sticking to the books all the time. You can do all other activities which you love. It's just that you have to give all the time you designated in the timetable or in your fine mind, wherever you want it to be. And yeah, that's all about what I would like to say about myself. Rest everything is clearly about my own biography. It is clear. It's just that don't stick to the stereotypes. I have never stick to a stereotype. For example, I was never the kind of person who was very nerdy or who was always into books and not into everything else. I was a what do you say? A person who was doing everything. So I would like to say that.
All right. So seems like you are very enthusiastic and jovial person. All
Yeah.
right. So let's start with this session. So pertaining to this particular topic, I would like to ask a very basic question. Right. So basically, when a person starts with the mains preparation for judiciary exam, so first of all, they have this doubt, like how to start with the mains writing. So
Okay.
what we have seen that like nowadays trend is like we all know that if you wanted to prepare for judiciary exam, you must have like start with the mains writing. Now every aspirant mostly knows this, like have to, but like before we sit for mains examination, so my question is like do we really need to know every subject uh, when we start with the mains examination, mains answer writing, or we have to just start whatever we have studied so far, like, and what was your strategy on that? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so like this is a very, it's kind of a penumbral question, so I'll answer it bit by bit. So initially, when you start with mains answer writing, it's a big task. It's a Herculean task. You think that you won't be able to do it. Okay, so the first thought that comes into the mind is how to write perfect answer, right? Like this is the first thing when we start preparing, that my answer has to be perfect. It has to include everything. And since it has been hyped so much that means writing, you have to write well and all those things. So what you have in the mind is there should be no mistakes at all. Okay, so first of all, you have to remove this bias from your mind. Whenever I advise anybody on starting to how to prepare on mains, I would just suggest that start writing, even if it's just a scribble. Because a lot of time what happens is we are from law background, so we are into writing, because that we have written all sorts of examination papers in the semesters, and it was just about writing anything you just felt like. So the mains exam writing is nothing different as compared to that. So if you make it a goose inside your head, it will be a goose which will be haunting you forever for your entire preparation time. So first of all, what you have to make it in your mind is it's nothing but your answer writing which you did in your semester. Like if it was good, if it was bad, it will be decided on the basis of that one. Secondly, when you go about preparing, you first think that let's just see about the basics. For example, pre, as you said, it would be qualifying. So most of the people are of the view that पहले pre हो जाए फिर mains के बारे में सोचा जाएगा, right? So a lot of people, even I was the victim of that thought, that a lot of people from my batch were preparing answer writing from day one. But I was of the view that I should not be going ahead of myself and prepare for mains when I couldn't even qualify for pre. But that's not how it should be done. Preparation is a long born process. It takes a very patient time and very patient caliber, what you say. So in that way, what you have to do is first you have to go through the basics of the law. For example, the bare act reading. Just start with the bare act part, because a lot of times we do read the bare acts but we don't understand what the bare acts are. We just read it. So when you read it for the first or the second time, you will realize that this is something more than what is actually written. Do not go for the books, because people directly bulge into the books and then they get confused and then they leave preparation, or they just get frustrated, right? So do not directly jump into the textbooks or the concept bearing or the case laws, because I come across a lot of people asking me how to ratify the case laws. Do not do that. Go for the bare act. Once you have been prepped well with the bare act, as in, like, if even if you are jolted off the sleep and people ask you if at all there is a provision in certain law, and if it is, then where it is. So if you're able to answer all these things, even if it is not that precise, even if it is close to what the law is, even then what you can do is you can start writing the basic concept which you understood from reading the bare act, right? For example, if we take Article 14 in the Constitution. So if you start reading the bare act of the Constitution, you will just go into the two rules that has been given, then you will go into the case laws, then you will also go about Article 19, then 21. You just start reading a lot of things. Okay. Don't do that.
Right.
Take one single concept, write anything about it. Anything, whatever comes to your brain, whatever you have listened in your lectures, or whatever you have learned from reading it, or probably the comments that has been written in the bare act, write anything, even if it is 2 lines. You will realize that you have a mental block, because when you think that you will write, you write a lot of things. Okay, if you are thinking in your mind, you have a big roadmap which is very beautiful, and you think that wow, I'll be doing it in a very well maintained manner, right? But when it comes to writing on paper, when it comes to maneuvering it in form of words, people are not able to do it. Even the best of writers haven't been able to do it in the first go. That is why I say that do not go behind perfect answer writing. Just start writing any which way you want. Okay. So you do that first. You will realize that you have this mental blockage, and the more you write, the more this mental blockage goes. Okay. So there will be a point in time where you are fluently writing any shit about any topic. Right? You are fluently writing. People tell you about Section 40 in the Transfer Property Act, and everyone will be like, "Oh my god, I don't understand the language." But if you start writing, you will understand there are a lot of things. You'll start writing there are three parties. You'll start writing that there has been this kind of transaction, blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. Okay, only the bare act part. Do not go into the text. And when you face the mental block, do not go and see what others have written about it, because then this mental blockage will not go at all. You will have that writer's block throughout your entire preparation time, career time, anytime. Okay. Now, what you do is when you are well prepped with these things, you just go into the textbook, because your preparation is in the second stage. This is going on according to your timetable also. Like you are preparing for pre also, and as compared to other things, you are also preparing for mains. Okay. Mains is not about any what do you say, any big what do you say, this is like a this kind of this,
Thing
I
or
am not getting the word. Like you see a big movie star and you fangirl a moment, right? That kind of moment is not the main thing. That's the
Right.
word I've been looking. But that's
Right.
not way. When you reach the second stage of your preparation, then you realize you know more about that particular section. Maybe a case law which is very famous, or something which is legendary, or some text. For example, when you read Section 6 of Evidence Act, you don't know its res geste until unless you go back and read the text, right? So now you know about Section 6, you also know about relevancy, you also know about res geste. So now you write more in the same answer. Just keep writing. Do not look back at the notes and think, oh my god, how dumb I was. What did I use to write? Because it's a continuous process. You keep increasing. Okay. Now the fourth step is reading case laws and understanding how is it different from the Bare Act. Because sometimes there are certain concepts which you understood in the Bare Act, which was differently interpreted. It was not a different law, but it was differently interpreted in some other case laws or some other uh, cases, or probably in some other interpretations, whatever
Right.
form they may be,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So you learn that, and then you start thinking, how can I connect these two things in my answer, right? The thing which I studied initially, which I understood initially, and the thing which I come across now, because both the things are important. That's how you develop, right? The thing which was in Bare Act is also important, thing which you read about is also important, and thing which has been given is also important. So now all these things have to be in a flow. And since you have
Right.
been going around in a flow, you know how to maintain the flow. You know what comes first. Otherwise, what happens is if you write it in the end, after you are done with your preparation state, case law, everything, then you don't know what came first. Now, since
Right.
you're writing since the beginning, you know what came first. So this is how things go about writing. Now, one of the major mistakes which people do is go about seeing others' answer. As I have already mentioned, that don't do that. Everyone has a particular style, and there is no given portfolio of writing a mains answer. You know, the
Right.
commission will never give you a template that this is the template you have to maintain for writing answer. You are an individual with a very unique style, with a perfect sense of writing and perfect hold of language. So you do your own exercise. Yeah.
Ma'am, yes. Yes, as you said, that one must start with the writing thing, right? This is something
Right.
which needs to be a practice. That is something which needs to be done. This is not will
Yeah.
come like before 1 month before exam, definitely. So, ma'am,
Right.
as you said that like use Barrett as your primary source and refer some other books if possible. Like, so what we have seen that, for example, like you said, there is article 14 and there are two clauses, and like people somehow not able to understand how to structure their answer, right?
Structure
So
that. Right.
basically my second question would be that how to structure your particular answer. For example, like article 14 I'm reading, I have read it from the Barrett, right? And I have studied that particular thing from J N Pandey, for example, right? So
Right.
how
Right.
I really wanted to write on that particular thing. So how much to write according to the marks which is allotted to that particular question?
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying, that this comes later, probably at the end, that
All
you
right.
start
Mhm.
thinking about the marks that is allotted to a particular question, right? Because you know when you start reading Article 14, let's say for example, you read a lot of things, because it's basically Hammurabi's code, right? It never ends. So what happens is, when you read it, you want to write everything about Article 14, whatever you have written, when you
Definitely.
read it in the first
Right.
book,
Right.
whatever. Since we have this in our brain that we have studied this, so we also write about it. This is the mistake people do, that they want to write everything they want to study. But this particular mistake will be cured at the end of your preparation stage, when you have garnered enough maturity to understand which questions require what kind of answer. For example, if Article 14 can ask you simple explain Article 14, or it can ask you explain the two rules that has been given in Article 14, or it can simply ask you the relation between the triangles 14, 19, and 21, or it can ask you questions like what do you understand from class legislation that has been described in Article 14, right? which
Right.
has been said not to do. So now all these questions, you know how to write them. You know that you know the questions. When you see the question, you know I studied it, right?
Correct.
But then
Correct.
again, this is the writer's block that I'm talking about, which you will overcome when you start writing anything which you come across. So when you read about Article 14, just write about Article 14. When you read about class legislation, you write about that. When you read about intelligible differentia, write about that. When you read about the two rules, write about that. Just keep writing. Keep writing anything you have read in your own words. Do not copy the textbook. And about the fact of using your own words, there are a lot of people I have come across who go through this difficulty that we are not able to form proper sentences, or the sentences which would make a proper meaning, probably. Okay. So for that, I would suggest that read. Because see, preparation is not a single day thing, and it is not a one thing. You cannot just go on reading law and just qualify your exam. It is jack
Correct.
of all trades and master of none. As you asked me earlier, that do you need to know all the law? No, you don't. You need to have this basic concept in your mind what law is. You need to understand what Bare Act writing is. I mean, if you are able to understand the particular sections, the typical sections of the Bare Act, of any Bare Act, then understand that you are now capable of understanding law. That is my simple definition of how to gauge yourself that you are going in a right direction. Okay, the
Right.
first thing first, that you need to understand the language of the bear, because there are times when you read Bear Act, you understand, and when you go around and read those in the textbook, you think, oh shit, I understood in the very different direction. So
Yes.
that's your first step,
Keep
right?
happening.
So now you have to read. Okay, read from whatever manner you want. Read English poetry, read English. That's why I said do not stick to stereotypes. Do not just go into the books you are reading. Read whatever things which come across. Read Hindu editorials. Read any editorials you like. Read novels. Wake up in the morning 6 to 8. Read novels. Just read novels, because
Correct.
that subconsciously will make a flow of sentence, flow of thoughts in your mind. It is basically increasing you day by day. You don't understand in day one, but at the end you will understand how it helped you. If you go around sticking to what other people have done, studying 10 hours, 12 hours consistently, this, that, no, you do that. I'm not saying you don't do that. You do that, but do take out time for your own reading and read whatever you like. Read English magazines, read GK magazines, because they have this structure. You know how to start, you know how to end, and then in the middle, you just know how to place things. You know everything. This is what I'm saying. Everybody knows everything. You just know how to place it. Okay. So
Right.
now the question and the marks part comes later. Everything, you understand what question requires what. Before you have read something, you will never know what you want, right? There are questions which are long enough, which comes in only 5 marks. For example, in the last judiciary exams we gave, we have this long concepts of family law, for example, meher, tilak, and everything, which we had to explain only for 5 marks. And we know that all these questions are basically really long. When you have to meher, you have to understand meher, you have to understand everything. You have to understand what stipulated meher is, what unstipulated meher is, when it is given, when it is not given. So that we know it's inside, but it's of 5 marks. We have to focus what is
Right.
more important, right?
Correct.
So if it's 5 marks, if it's meher, you just write the definition. You very, very in the, for you, what do you say, just in a block letter understanding structure, you make that this is the amount in the Shias and the Sunnis, this is the types of dawah that we give, and this is the time when it is given. Finish in
Right.
one single line, right? Because it's a 5 marks. If you don't write it of the 5 marks, and if you think that itne mein to kam hoga ya zyada hoga, then you'll not be able to attend different questions which are of probably higher marks,
Right.
right? So
Yes,
all
ma'am.
these things come when you have matured enough to know things. So this is at the end. Do not bother yourself in the beginning. Otherwise, it will be really cumbersome and you won't be able to go about it, right? And about structure, yes, structure is really important, but but there are people who have been asking me the model answer, right? Like, what is the model answer? Do we go for this guide? This guide has amazing written answers. So I'll tell you my personal experience. I had bought a guide because obviously my seniors also suggested that take a guide, see the questions and just ratify it and write it in the similar fashion that it is written, because this is what the commission wants. Please do not do it in capital letters. Please do not. The guide is of more than 3,000 pages. Do you really think it's practical to ratify all the answers? It's not.
No, no, it's of course, it's not
Exactly.
possible.
And you cannot say that these answers are the model answers, because I myself found so many discrepancies in the answer writing in the guide. And that you will know only when you know law. You cannot know otherwise, right? So what
Correct.
people do is they just buy the guide, start reading from there itself. So you are basically learning the wrong concepts. Don't do that. If you don't want to read textbook, I am not suggesting you to read textbook. Read any book which you find comfortable with. This is another question that comes. Ki, which book should we refer? The
Definitely.
books you relate most is the best book for you, because that is how you understand concept most clearly. It's not that only Takwani is the best book of CPC and no other books can explain you the concepts. No. If Takwani is not able to explain you concepts in the manner it should be, it's not a good book for you. अगर दुक्की से लगता है आपको, अगर पठान से लगता है आपको concept समझ में आते हैं, that's the best book. Just read it. Do not make yourself a botheration thinking, oh my god, this is not a perfect answer. I need to start with the perfect. Perfection comes later with time. So you don't have to, you just don't think that this will be the model answer or this is the answer I'm gonna do. Yes, what you can do with guide is one thing, that there are certain questions you don't understand. For example, there are certain questions related to certain sections which are framed in certain manner, that you do know the section, you do know the law, but you do not know what the question is trying to ask.
Correct.
So in that case, you go back to guide, you see the questions, you see this is referring to this section, you see what ingredients did it include, and just write it in your own language. It's as simple as that. Okay.
Right. Yes, ma'am. So, like as you said, that come out from the stereotypes and like
Yes,
just yeah, that is the most important thing I got to know. And of course, that this is a competition era. You cannot copy it somewhere. Everything must be
exactly.
original. That's why you will be able to fetch a good marks, right? So, like as we are discussing about the practice, how to write answer writing. Right. So my question is like if I'm at home and I'm doing my answer writing practice, so like in the end I have done with my answer writing everything, and now the question comes how to evaluate my copy, like from where I could help with this thing. As you said that do not get back to like do not match your answer with anyone or something like that. So what would you give on this particular thing, like how to evaluate my copy, like yes.
Okay, yeah, this is a very pertinent question actually, because for people like me who have not done any coaching or probably did not attend any institution, they really don't know where to start or where to end, right? So now this comes a portion where you know you're writing, but of course you're not writing it perfectly because nobody is perfect, and you want to know what mistakes you're doing. So first of all, I would suggest that don't do it in the first three stages. Please don't. Just don't, because you have not given your pre, you just don't know the concepts, you are not really in the mood of writing mains paper. For those who have given their pre and probably have written few mains, for them I would suggest that this is the procedure they will apply. For the others who are freshers and who are just preparing or begin to prepare, they should not bother themselves in the first three stages that I did mention. Okay, they should not. They should first just get out of their brain, because as I said, in our mind it's a very beautiful place. If you think you will say, oh my god, yes, this is the question, I will write this, take a pen, take a paper, you'll not be able to write a single word. Okay, so once this is over, you know that this is the thing and this is the way you will develop a style. From the third stage you will have one style which is very unique to you. You will see for yourself. Okay, I'm not joking, because this is what happened with me. You'll have one style which you will stick on forever. Kitna bhi change koi karane ki koshish kare, you'll stick it on, because that's your style. That's how you developed it. Now, as I said, guide come into help in these situations. Okay, how do you fetch marks in mains? It's a very simple concept. How do you fetch marks? Okay, so for fetching marks in mains, you do not have a template. As I said, you just need the proper ingredients in the answer. They are looking for a question. There is one single answer only. For every question, there is one single answer, and everybody will be writing that one single answer only, right? Marks will depend whether or not you have included all the answers to the questions they have asked, right? So write a question, go back to that question just in case it's in the guide or probably anywhere if it's written. Go back to the question, read the answers. If you see those ingredients are present in yours, doesn't matter what your structure was, doesn't matter what your style was. What matters is you wrote all the ingredients. For example, if it's asking about ostensible owner, you wrote a particular answer. Now go back to guide and check it what they have written. They have this 2-3 pages long answer. You don't have to do that. Just see that you have mentioned that particular rule that we have, that you cannot claim a better title against the owner. You wrote that rule either in Latin or in English. Then you went back and wrote the sections. You wrote the act ka name and the year. Then you wrote all the ingredients of that section. You mentioned one case law, and that's done. Even in guide's answer, you will find the same thing. You have
Right.
all the ingredients which they mentioned. Doesn't matter what language they were using, what language you are using, doesn't matter at all. It's your style. You wrote all the ingredients. You will get marks. It's like they don't have time to see your language really. Okay, so they'll just underline the keywords. So what is important in mains writing is keyword. Even when you're preparing, for example, when we prepare the answers and revising it later, we have keywords written on the smaller papers. Just ratify those keywords. They should be in your answer. That's it.
Right.
There's
All right.
nothing about it.
Yes, yes. As you said that that ingredients plays an important role because there are so many competitors out there who have written so many answers, and examiners,
Exactly.
yes, examiners don't have so much of time to look into each and every aspect of their answer basically. So I believe that my participants who are continuously asking that what should be the structure of a particular exam, so I believe that there is no any such structure. There are ingredients which you need to jot down, and this is how you need to complete your answer, right? Yes.
Exactly. I
So
would like to add one point here about this particular thing. If you really want a I would not suggest to follow this, but this is just a guideline. Like, if you want to start somewhere, start in a way that first you write an introduction. That introduction will not be the introduction which we have written in our law papers. No, please. कितने
right.
भी marks का question हो, 20 marks, 30 marks, you just write 3-line introduction. That introduction will be either directly referring to the sections which the question has asked, or referring to some of the Latin maxims which are involved in that question, or referring some particular jurist or some quote which you remember, but not really very flowery. Otherwise, these people get offended also. Okay, like if your answer is really flowery, these people think that you're not giving a philosophy paper, which makes sense. Right? So they want your
Mhm.
introduction should be something which immediately grabs attention. Okay, this person knows the answer. It should not be flowery, it should not be preachy, it should not be very what do you say, what we really write in our articles and everything. It should not be glamorous per se. It should be something which catches the mind of, just imagine yourself in the place of the evaluator, and
Right.
then see, okay, if this is the thing, yes, this person knows the answer, so that person start with. Okay, now
Okay.
second thing which I really suggest people doing in their answers is make subheads. Because what happens is people don't really have time to check, and you don't have really time to write. So subheads make these things important. You know, you wrote that subhead, niche kuch bhi likho, it doesn't matter. Not that apni story likho, but it should be like subheads and then something which is related to the subhead. Okay, so that
Right.
subhead will give the examiner an idea. Okay, this person knows about it. For example, if it's ostensible owner, write in Latin maxim section, whatever, then write the ingredients, that this is the ingredient. First ingredient, explain. Second ingredient, explain. Third ingredient, explain. Then write one case law. Fourth, may you just finish it off saying that there is other section related to such, or probably just don't write it at all. So this is
Right.
I ask people to stick on, because it helps them to write and it helps people to check also.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, like, I believe that structure is pretty much clear to my participants, and of course, this is how you need to follow up. There, you need not to make your answer so flowery as you said, because
Yeah,
you like they people are checking some analytical skills in a aspirant, right? They are not checking how philosophical, how student, like you will get trained in your like training period, of course. Yeah. So
exactly.
now, pertaining to strategy, like there is one keen question I wanted to ask that, for example, there are a lot of judiciary exam, and there we had to choose optional, subject.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yes, yes. So basically, like if so, my question is basically that whether a person should choose subject according to their interest or according to the weightage, not weightage, what would I say? Like for example, there is constitution, right?
Right.
This is vast. There will be questions, तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा vast होंगे उसके answers and everything. On the contrary, if I choose, for example, limitation act, for example, I'm saying, if I choose limitation, तो मुझे कम लिखना पड़ेगा, right?
Mm-hmm.
और बहुत specific.
ज़्यादा number मिलेंगे.
सो ऑप्शनल सब्जेक्ट किस बेसिस पे चूज करना चाहिए, ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इंटरेस्ट और द स्ट्रैटेजी वेयर वी नीड टू हैव, लाइक बनाना चाहिए यहाँ पे स्ट्रैटेजी बनाना चाहिए, मतलब कैसे, दिस इज समथिंग ट्रिकी. इफ यू चूज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन तो आपको पढ़ना भी ज्यादा है एंड लिखना भी ज्यादा है. ऑन द कॉन्ट्ररी, इफ यू चूज
Mm-hmm.
लिमिटेशन तो आपको लिखना भी कम है और स्पेसिफिक रहेगा. सो
पढ़ना भी
व्हाट्स
कम.
ऑन दिस?
Okay, before I move on to that question, there was this one question asking about limited vocabulary. I'll just answer it quickly. See, vocab is not really important. Limited ho, chahe kaise bhi ho, it doesn't really important. Like it doesn't really matter. All you need to do is have law words in your mind. About English language, they'll be having separate paper probably, or maybe they just don't bother at all. So limited vocabulary is not a problem. There are people who come from different language also because English is not their first language. So in
Right.
that case, limited vocabulary is not a problem. That's what I wanted to say. Secondly, about choosing subject. So choosing subject is tricky, true, as you said, but then it is again a unique thing. For example, there are people who would want to read more rather than studying something that doesn't interest them at all, right? There are people who would want to study constitution than studying limitation because they like constitution and they just don't like limitation at all, or probably they don't understand the concepts of it. There are other people who are flexible, who can read anything, who can read any proper law, or who can ratify anything they read. So in either cases, you need to make a strategy which will obviously fetch you marks because marks are important in this qualitative world. So the strategy should first be things that it just doesn't confuse you. Okay. It's a simple strategy. Do not get confused because getting confused in the preparation stage is something which will lead you nowhere. You need to be clear. So if you think that you want marks and you will be able to study limitation and you will be able to do justice to the answers of limitation, because limitation, it's an easy subject, you need to study less, the questions are also repetitive, but then again you have to be really creative with your answers because they also know now that you're choosing limitation only because it has to be studied less because they
Right.
are more intelligent than we are. So
Right.
you need to be really, really creative with your answers and you have to give extra work to it. Constitution, you write anything you study, even though you have to study more, but you study anything. So I would suggest take something which a lot of people do not take, first of all, because it's
Yeah.
difficult. People say it's
Yeah.
difficult, it's lengthy. So you choose that because it's very good to go against the stream because they also are bored seeing all the questions of limitations and blah blah blah. Even when you're choosing the answers in the options, go for the options which you know not other people will be doing it because then that will automatically fetch you marks. Because
Right.
common things, common answers, everybody is going through. So you'll get common numbers. If you want uncommon numbers, uncommon things, then you have to go against the tribe. But that, having said that, it doesn't mean that common things do not fetch you marks. If you are creative, if you are good in writing, if you have studied well, if you were interested in it, you will get marks in that answers as well. So
Correct.
it's very unique, as I said. But keep your stands very clear. Do not get confused.
Right. So yeah, as you said that before choosing an optional subject, be clear and smart about choosing the subject, because yeah, you need to write there, no matter how big or small you need to
Exactly.
write, but like you have to write and you have to study for that. Yes, ma'am. So like now the question comes, as you said, that there is a very limited time we have got there during the
Right.
examination, and we have to write very limited and appropriate as well. Right. So what happens generally during the examination, like people get into the stress sometimes, and before starting an answer, they spend a lot time on the first two questions.
Right.
This usually happens.
Always.
Yes.
Mhm.
So like how to manage it, of course, and like how to give. Of course, you said that this will come by the practice, definitely, but there are certain exam pressure as well. Key exam, we are sitting for this repetitive job or something like that. So how you managed during your exam, and what was strategy on that?
Okay, so I would really, really, really thank my IELTS examinations for my answer writing skills, because there also you had your 100 marks paper and you had to write 100 pages. So you had to be specific what you write. So what the strategy we adopted there, I continued with a little improvisation and modifications in the judiciary. The strategy there was giving half an hour to each question. For example, like, because there were 5 questions or 4 questions, and accordingly we had divided time. So it was, if it was 4, we had divided time to 45. If it was 5, it was, we had divided time for 30 minutes, because usually the questions were of equal marks. Okay. Now in judiciary, the questions are not of equal marks, and you have to write, because it's judiciary, of course. So you have a lot of pressure, and then you think that probably this is the last time you'll be able to sit in this exam, or you have to get through it. First of all, take a deep breath, remove all the stress, because it's competitive exam. It's not something. It's more of a luck, I would say, rather than your preparation, because a lot of time what happens is you don't remember things, or probably the things which you left are the only things which are in the paper. So you don't need to bother about getting through. First of all, if you remove the stress, half of job is done, because a lot of people want to do it now, want to do it today. That's not how it's done. I really wish and hope that you do, but remove the stress. Be free, be calm. If you are calm, then you know how to divide your time. For example, if you have constitution question of 10 marks, and you have to attend 4 questions of the equal number of marks. For example, this time what happened to us was, in constitution we were given article 12 and article 21 in the similar questions, and each was of equal marks. So what happened with
Okay.
most of my peers was, as you said, they spent half of their time in writing that one question, which was of 10 or 20. I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, that's how it was divided. So they spend half of their examination time on writing 12 and 21, and I don't blame them, because Article 12 is also exhaustive and 21 was also exhaustive. And the question was not limiting in any sense. It was just explain Article 12, explain Article 21. I'm telling you because you will be facing the similar kind of situations in your lifetime. So now what happens is, when you see this question, you remember everything, starting from 𝗱𝗲𝗃𝗃 to NCRT, then to whatever thing you studied, you'll remember everything and you want to write everything. This is what state is, this is what state is not, this has been held in Judiciary P.J. Prasad, that the state is not judiciary, and then all the things you studied. You remember. No, do not. This is the opportunity when you can interpret the question in your own manner. If it is asking explain Article 12 and not any of its particular aspect, just be as general as you want. Start from the very beginning. Article 12 is this, with the 𝗱𝗲𝗃𝗃 and Rajasthan Electricity Board, and explain it in a very, very, very limiting sense. Take all the ingredients, explain it, come to other authorities, explain the discrepancies, mention 4 case laws, and at the end just write that it's still this way. That this is the case which has been in airport authority, it has been held that these 3 are the things which will be defining whether or not it's a state or not. Over. I know you have studied a lot of things. Even examiner knows that you have studied a lot of things. But
Correct.
you need to be precise. Just finish it off in 3 pages. Because
Right.
you are in, if you're giving a UP Judicial Service examination, they give you spaces, constraint spaces. You have to limit your answers in that. So what people do is write smaller letters and then go on writing about things. Do not do that. And also do not write very big letters, because that's also a technique they understand. So you have to limit it, and very intelligently you have to limit it. It's not that you just go around writing one portion and leave the other portions. Just write about everything. For example, in Article 21, what I did was, I wrote Article 21 introduction. I just wrote the 𝗲𝗻 Act. Simply the 𝗲𝗻 Act in the introduction. Nothing plural. Nothing. It was simple 𝗲𝗻 Act. Then I went on explaining each singular aspect. I did not write anything. Just singular aspect, right? Giving subheads, giving one case law. Subheads, one case law. Then I went on explaining the major case law. And then I came the new development of Article 21. I wrote the case law. This has been right to privacy. I wrote only 4 to 5 recent case laws. For example, right to privacy, right to death, and then three, 4 more, involvement and other thing. And my answer was finished. Other people went on explaining it, because there are many things which you can explain in Article 21. It's Article 21 for frigging self, right? So you need to just limit your understanding. And how do you do that? For that, as I said, you don't need to. There are a lot of people, and I would not say that it's a wrong practice. It's just not my style. What do? Is they start writing each answer. They'll just gather the question paper of last 5 to 10 years, and they'll write each answer, and then they'll learn it. Okay, that's not a wrong practice, because it's your own answers. You can learn it, no problem. It's okay. That takes a lot of time.
Right.
And trust me when I tell you this, you will never get time to revise all those answers in all those subjects, because one paper is not of one paper. If it's substantive law, it's constitution, it's family law, it's torts, it's contract, it's everything you have studied in substantive law. How will you revise everything in that particular portion, right? So my suggestion, what I used to do, I just made the synopsis. Okay. So if it's Article 21, I'll make a singular synopsis. Any question related to Article 21, I'll make one synopsis. I'll know if Article 21 in general is asked, I'll just write the synopsis with one-line explanation. If a particular portion on Article 21 is asked, I'll write this entire synopsis with the same introduction I used for Article 21. This is the way I used to go, and I used to have that synopsis papers with me. When you remember everything, you just subheads and the head, and you'll know that what was inside it, because that's your answer. You prepared it. It's how things will be done.
Yes. I guess there's some network issues. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I guess there is some network issues. All right, no issue. Yes. So, ma'am, as you said that that synopsis can be a good strategy to carry on with the stock questions like we have seen. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me? Yeah, so there's this question that is coming, that is it necessary to learn each and everything? So as ma'am stated that there is no need to learn each and everything. You are sitting for a judiciary competition, so you have to be precise and appropriate and relevant as per the requirement of the examination. Ma'am, you there?
Yeah. Sorry for the inconvenience. I don't know, my net didn't work.
It's no problem. We are like, we have still participants, right? Okay. Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, see you clearly.
Right. All right. So as you were saying, things about that. Basically, what we can say, one needs not to focus on one question. Basically, you need to divide your time and balance your time accordingly, right? So ma'am,
Yeah.
like pertaining to your one thing that you said, that if it is written in the question paper, that explain, right? So nowadays what we have seen, that there are tail words, like for example detailed words, like for example comment, examine. So like we
Mm-hmm.
have seen that aspirants really got confused when after the question paper, if it is written critically analysis this particular thing, right? Or what we can say, elaborate. So
Right.
like what you will say on this, when we go for a question and we say that we have to write about article 14 critically analysis or examine this. So generally what participants do, they do not differentiate in certain things, they just write on. So how to differentiate these answers, because that's play a very important role, I believe, that if the examiner has asked that critically examine or critically analysis this particular question, so like you have to differentiate, and certainly
Right.
examiner is asking certain different thing from a aspirant, right? So just give your insight on some, like something on this.
Okay. So when it comes to the tail words, as you said, you need to be very particular. Okay. These tail words do carry marks, but half of the marks. So the main question carry half of the marks, and the tail words carry half of the marks, depending on what kind of tail word it is. If it is critically examined, then probably it's carrying more than half of the marks. If it is just detailed, then it is just a tail word. Okay, just a tail word. If it's detailed, if it's explain, if it's comment, then it's just, what do you say? It's just there to confuse the participant and just to change the taste of the examiner about the question paper. Okay. So do not get panicky about these words. Whatever is the main head of the question, just go about writing that. And in the end, in like first para or last second para or the last para, just say that in the end, I would like to say that this is what the explanation to the means, or this is the comment I would like to give. But when it is comment, when it is comment and critically explain, you also have to write the negative impact, or probably if it's a negative question, you have to write the positive thing. Okay. So you need to be very specific and very particular about the tail word. You need to know when not to get deboggled about the same. Because what happens is, we have the question, we have the answers also. But when we see it in the presented in a very different manner, we'll be like, this is not the answer I prepared for. Do not. Just write whatever you prepared for. In the end, in the last two para or last three paras, depending on the amount of question, as I said, how to differentiate, just write about the manner or the precise aspect of what the question has asked. So if it's critically examined, just examine it critically. That means you write the concept first. Because for
Yes,
constantly or critically examining things, you need to have a concept. So write the concept first, then go about critically examining it, not necessarily meaning that you will write the negative or the positive aspect only. You write both the aspects. Sometimes you need to write both the aspects. Sometimes it's just positive, sometimes it's just negative. So you need to see what exactly the things are, and you need to be prepared for it. For example, if you're reading something, just go about reading it in a regular fashion. For example, if the last year question paper had asked ostensible or in a similar fashion, I'll not be reading it in any other form. You need to also study in the form that when are the things when you're not required the notes, or what are the exceptions to the rule of cautionable
correct,
notice, right? So these are the formal fashions of the questions which you need to be prepared in answering it. But at the end of the day, it's the same answer. It's the same answer. You need to write the
correct.
concept, then you need to write what you're going to do. Simply.
Yeah, yeah. So basic strategy is just write the concept, basically, and just first read the question carefully, what that particular question is asking.
Exactly.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am. So
And
yes,
sometimes I would like to add that there are certain times when in the critical examination, all you need to do is write one case law. That's it.
right.
No,
Yes,
just
and
it.
correct. Yes, ma'am. As we have seen that there are problem-solving questions as well. So, like, we have
Exactly.
to be particular about the writing particular concept, their objective, and the policy, and the followed by the case laws, basically, right?
Right.
Okay. So, ma'am, as we have seen that in UP Judiciary exam, we have five papers in mains, right? So, like in one of the session आपको question paper दिया जाता होगा like 2 3 so like all in all what I'm asking about the time management कि अगर आपको दो क्वेश्चन पेपर मिला how you manage the time simultaneously वो लोग क्वेश्चन आपके ऊपर like देते हैं तो how you manage basically or like how you went through that.
Okay, so as I said that you need to divide your time first of all. Secondly, you need to see what the question is asking. If it's asking just facts, just give facts, don't write illustration. If it's asking explain, write illustration also. If it's just asking illustration, for example, there are questions where you have been given illustration of a particular section. Kabhi kabar it's the copied version, kabhi kabar they just change the illustration, but you know which section it pertains to. Okay, in those questions where it's just about illustration and they're asking you to explain it, do not write facts. Do not go about recounting the entire facts of the illustration that has been given. Do not do that. Just write that this illustration is pertaining to this section of this act. The particular ingredients or the main ingredients of this section is 1 2 3 4 in one line. Do not explain it. Then go about explaining what will be the end, like the question. Basically, what is the question? So since this is the section, this is the ingredients are getting fulfilled, and therefore this section is satisfied, and therefore this is the offense. For example, if it's the IPC question, okay, or if it's a contract question, then you do the same thing. Do not go about writing the entire, so this A is saying that, so a B went to that field, so therefore this will happen. Don't do that. Just finish it off like a mathematical problems, like we do in mathematics. Just simply writing the steps, showing them the steps, and writing the final answer. That's it. If it's a descriptive answer, be very creative because everybody is describing. So what you do, write the keyword in the subheads, simple and crisp. Write the subheads, which are the major keywords. And then below you write one case law if you want, or just write the bare act sections or in any language which you have studied or which you have understood. What the examiner will do is see your subhead and will not read the section. Mostly in major cases, what you have written down is not important. If he sees that you know the keywords and if he sees it directly, then his work is easy and you get more marks. If he has to find it out in your answer, then his work is difficult and you get less marks because you are writing the same thing. Because as I said, same question requires same answers. You cannot go around writing different law for the same question, right? So if that person is writing a case law, you will also write the same case law because that's the landmark case law. So what you have to do is make something which is eye-catchy. For example, in local laws, what they do is if they're asking you bhumidhar with non-transferable right, just write the sections. Just write the 5 cases in which the bhumidhari non-transferable cases will happen. And in the end, just write that this is the case in which if it falls, then it is bhumidhari with no NTR. Simple. Finish it off. Don't think that it's a 5 marks, it's a 15 marks. Do not do that. If you think that you have written everything that was asked in the question, finish it off, even if it's half a page of answer. Okay. Because that's what the examiner wants to see.
Okay. Correct. Yes, ma'am. Like as you said, that the precise writing should be appreciated, right? And the relevancy should be there. You cannot write everything, and like you do not have even sufficient time to write each and everything. So be precise and be relevant at this moment, since competition is there, right, ma'am? So my question, another question could be like, is there any section in the mains examination which is easier comparatively? Like for example, which doesn't bother you much? Like there are questions we have seen in law, there are so many questions. So is there any section which is easier, for example translation or essay or something like that?
See, in the English paper, it's easier for the people who have command over English language because précis and essays are something which I've been writing all throughout. Okay. When it comes to your substantive law paper, there used to be question about, for example, illustrations. They give you illustration and they ask you which section. So basically try to do that first. Or probably there are questions which give practical problems, for example, of CRPC and IPC majorly. They have this practical problems where they'll give you one illustration and they'll ask what will be the possible outcome. So attend that first because that will take less time, right? As I said, it's kind of mathematical question. I have been receiving requests to answer certain questions. I don't know what that were. I remember one question, but when to start preparing, right? Preparation, as I said, is unique for everyone. There are people who prepare for 6 months and get selected. There are people who prepare for 2 years and they do not get selected, but that does not in any way describe your caliber in getting selected. That is pure luck. There are people who have been preparing for many years, but the vacancy didn't come out. There were people who were preparing just now and the vacancy came out and they got selected. So you have to gauge yourself. You have to know in how much time you will be able to prepare, and then you start preparing. And if you are thinking about preparing from college days, that's the best thing to do. But do not get so engrossed that you forget about your own existence. I am strongly against the belief that people who are preparing or who intend to prepare need to be something a goof. You do not need to be a goof. You need to enjoy your life, because exam is all about how you perceived life in general sense. If you perceived life in a stricter, very constricted sense, then your answers, your preparation, your mood will be narrow, strict. But if you perceived life in a broader, happier sense, your mood will be light, and you will be gauging things in present, not in future, not in past. So
Correct.
yeah, about time, that
Yes.
is it. I don't know about what other questions were.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Basically, they are generally they are asking questions when to start with the preparations and everything.
Yeah, one more thing, case laws, how to remember case laws. Okay,
Right.
this is like a very tricky thing. I would suggest in torts law, there are many case law, as we know. The entire torts in India is basically case laws, because you don't have any substantive law as such. It's basically a civil law with exactly no precedence except in Kerala in miscellaneous act and everything. So in torts, I would suggest remember the basic case laws, and for every concept, if you refer to Bangya, I have this very cut short technique, but follow this only when you are done with all the concept making. I am giving this at your risk. So what if you see Bangya, and if you refer to the last few pages of Bangya, they have explained all the concepts in very small and very crisp and very condensed form with the basic case laws. Okay, if you see it about constructive liability, about act of God, about strict liability, everything they explain in 5 lines, 3 case laws, which is your answer basically. So like if you remember those case laws, and if you don't need to remember exactly, you just read it 5 times and it will be in your head. And what I used to do was I used to write things, because writing makes it easier to remember. So if you're reading something, just write it on, study it, and then go about reading it again. Because next time you read, you will be like, abhi to padha tha, kya dimag hai, bhool gaye. Do not pester yourself with that particular feeling. Case laws yaad ho jayenge. Constitution mein, you have to be very well versed with the recent case laws and the major landmark ones. Agar beech ke nahi yaad hai, you can write in a particular case law, Supreme Court held that, and the facts, of course. In other another things, for example, family law, if you don't remember things, do not remember it. It's okay to not remember case laws and family laws, but it's not okay to not remember case laws and contract, because that's something which is on our mouth and they expect it. If you don't remember the recent ones, no problem. In contract, no problem if you don't remember the recent ones, older ones will do. In torts, you have to know all the laws. In consti, you have to know the recent and the landmark. Then comes your local law. Do not study case laws. No. Strict, no. SRA, do not do it. Strict, no. Because these are the questions where you will be writing majorly the concepts, and that's what they are expecting. If you write case law, they'll give you 1 or 2 marks extra, but that's not what you're aiming for, because competition is all about smart study. It's not about how much you studied. Okay, so if you are aiming for all the 100, you will not even get 60, but if you're aiming for 60, you'll definitely get 55. So this is what the strategy must be. Do not aim for studying everything, but also do not leave out on anything in particular. Okay, so if you're reading constitution, read it very thoroughly. If you're reading limitation, read it the major minor things which you think is important. Read only important things and leave the other things. Do not study the case laws. So because I am a sort of person who is of ideology that 100% can't be done in competition. You cannot know everything. That's
Correct.
not
Correct.
possible. So yeah, about case laws, that thing is.
All right.
And sometimes it's okay to not write case laws. Do not write it if you don't remember. It's okay.
Right, right. Yes, yes. People have this mentality that there should be some structure where every time the case law should be mentioned. But as you
That's
said,
not
that there
important.
is no need of certain things. And moreover, we can say that in the case laws, the held part needs to be
Yeah,
written. Yeah,
written.
that will be like that can easily be remembered and people can write it, because that shows the importance of certain thing, right? All right. So ma'am,
in subjects like constitution and everything, you will remember it because you've studied it so many times, and you should remember it because obviously it's a competition, so you have to give a bit extra there.
Right,
So
right.
constitution, contracts, torts, these are the things, and especially some parts of transfer of property also, like the major starting portion where you are explained the general concepts of TPA. There you remember certain case laws, and the later part do not remember it. Just leave it.
Right, right. All right. So yeah, I believe that, like for example, if a person has lost something, like if they are not able to remember any case law, so basically what they can do, like there is a famous case where
Yeah,
this
you
held,
can do that. In
you
other
can,
subjects you can, but I would suggest that in certain common subjects don't do that, because that gives a very wrong impression also. In
right,
common
right.
subjects don't do that. In other subjects, do it as much as you want, like just ravage the entire answer paper with that particular thing.
Correct. So I believe that many of my participants' questions has been answered. Yeah. So before wrapping up this session, I'm having a like last question, and later on we can take some other, like there's this one major question is coming, that is of judgment writing. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So like in you. Yes, so like how to manage the time, and judgment writing is an art. It's not something, again you will get 1 month prior. So how you used to do judgment writing, and what was your strategy on that?
Okay, so now judgment writing was something, honestly speaking, I came to know was a major portion just 6 months before my mains writing. Like before that, I hardly bothered. These people are really intelligent that they know, and there's this thing called judgment writing. Really proud of you all guys. But having said that, they are selecting you to become judges. You're not judges as well. Okay, so it's an art. I agree, but they do not want you to be the artist yet. They will make you the artist later. This art will come to you later. Here also, you will know that there are certain template. Here you'll have a template. They'll give you this in UP. They give this one para of facts. You can make evidences as much as you want, write judgment in any which favor you want. It is not even required if you write wrong judgments in UP. I'm talking. Okay.
Okay.
But if you give exams in Madhya Pradesh, they take it very seriously. They have this one paper separately of judgment writing, civil and criminal. Okay, that's where major people fail. So if anybody is planning to give MP judiciary services, then you should give specific time to judgment writing. And there is this particular book on judgment writing for Madhya Pradesh. You'll find it in any bookstore you want. Okay, just go and read them, the civil part and the criminal part. You will know a basic structure that you have to start with the facts, basic facts. Then you start about the arguments on both the side, then the evidences that were given to you, then the fact that you perused the evidence, then the fact that after perusing each evidence, like of course you will make the fact an issue in case of civil, and in case of criminal you have already made the charge. So when you are going on about perusing the evidence, each fact and issue or each charge will be referred, and it will be weighed according to the evidences that were given, or that you made in your brain. So when it comes to UP, you just write very simple thing. With all these ingredients, you will get the mark. If the with UP, you'll just need the ingredients. Okay. With MP, they need judgments, and they need judgments to be proper. Like if they have given you a particular scenario, you need to be a person who gives right sense of judgment. And it's not a very difficult portion if you know the law. For example, in my case, they gave this SRA and CPC combined. So if you know the law, you know that this person cannot come into specific relief for asking immovable property. All you can do is you can give injunction. You cannot declare the possessory rights, right? If it's an immovable property, section 5, everybody knows it. So all you need to pass is decree stating that particular thing. You just need to apply your brain in the middle concept, and that you will get if you read the judgments which has been given in the model book, because most of the question asked honestly are the repeated edition of that model book only. Okay, so there is this particular book, you find it, you read it, you read 6 judgments, you will be the helm of it altogether. And even if you do not reach the proper judgment, for example, there are people who complain that I was not able to write the proper judgment, or मेरी judgment writing और मेरी judgment गलत हो गई, doesn't matter, because it's like mathematics, they give you marks for steps, so you'll get marks
Correct.
for steps.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So as you said that every state has its own strategy of, like
Yes,
having a judgment writing. For example, in MP, they have like this marshalling and appreciation. They actually see this particular
exactly.
thing. But in UP Judiciary, we have seen that there is problem and you have to write pleadings or the charges
Very
which
simple.
thing.
Exactly.
So what I believe that participants needs to differentiate their strategy according to the states, and this is how they
Exactly.
can execute this strategy for judgment writing, basically. Yeah.
And moreover, you just need like last few months before the exams for judgment writing. Do not go into the details of it, because you will get confused in that case. You don't need
Correct.
confusing.
Correct. Yes. As rightly said. So, ma'am, a basic, a technical question, a last minute strategy I wanted to ask that what would be the checklist or the things that you need to carry for the mains examination hall? Like there are so many people who are preparing for Delhi Judicial Services as well, and where we have seen that they already provide you certain books,
Right.
right? So
Hmm.
like what is the main thing, like what things you need to carry, what sort of pen, like this is generally a basic question I'm asking, but that could be useful for someone who's not taking coaching or any guidance. So basically
Right.
just tell us what things a person needs to carry to the main examination hall, and what should be the minute prior strategy one should, like last conclusion on this particular thing. Yeah.
Okay. So about the last minute strategy, throw your books into the dustbin. Do not study. In the last 1 hour, I've seen people studying like I don't know. Many people do get to know or remember the things. For many people, it's just the opposite, because if you start reading in the last minute, you will forget everything that you have read before. Or probably if you start discussing something new, which I strongly object to, if you have not studied anything before, do not study it on the examination day. Just leave it. Maybe your kismat is wrong and the same question will come and you will repent later कि मेरे सामने आया था मैंने पढ़ा क्यों नहीं. But I would strongly object कि ऐसा करने की जरूरत नहीं है, because then you will get confused, you will forget whatever you have studied, and you will get boggled and you will not be able to write things in the question paper. So stop studying in the last 1 hour. Other than that, make small notes, like small pages, and just keep on reading it. Do not learn it in the last day. For example, if tomorrow is your mains and you want to do what to do today, just start reading. Don't think कि ये तो याद नहीं है, shit ये तो भूल गए, oh god अब कैसे होगा. Do not do that. भूल गए, याद है, good. Just start reading. Read it through it. Simple. Do not even read it twice कि अभी एक बार और देख लो. Just read it, because your brain is apprehensive enough to get it inside your head. In exam, your pen works, your brain doesn't. So just forget about everything and start reading. Throw the papers and do not read in the last hour. This is what the last minute strategy is about. What carrying things to the examination. uh, First of all, if there are people like me who are still very bacha and cute and they want cute cardboard rollers to write on their papers on, so if you are one of those people, you can carry them without judgments, because there are a lot of people who do not carry it and they do scowl at you for carrying all that cardboard writer. But do carry it because it's a great sense. Then secondly, do not use much of the different pens. I would suggest don't do black, blue, red. Okay, don't do it. If you are comfortable in writing in black, carry that one pen. And if you're comfortable in writing in blue, carry that one pen. Do not change it. कि question इससे लिख लेते हैं, ये कर लेते हैं, वो कर लेते हैं. No. If you're comfortable with pilot pen, carry that pen. If you're comfortable with dot pen, carry that pen. No constraints there. Okay. Third thing I would say, when you're writing the answer, what I had learned throughout my career and what I would suggest you to do when you're writing the answer, write something. In the UP Judicial Services, you will be given question and then the answers will be like space will be given down. In that case, you don't need to do it. But in other cases, in the middle of the paper, write the question basic keywords. For example, if they have asked, explain the meaning of this Article 12 in the middle, and then start. Okay. And in here, in big block letters, the question number. Okay. Always do that. Always. And if you are skipping skipping certain question, tick mark that question so that you remember it, because in the haphazard examination fever we forget that we have left certain questions in the back page. Just tick mark it and go through that. Okay. The third thing I would suggest is carry water with the glucose, because there are people who do suffer panic attacks and anxiety issues during the writing of examination. So that helps if you are carrying the glucose bottle. But there are other people who want to pee after every gallop of water. So if you are one of those people, just don't do it, because you will be wasting a lot of time. And obviously, holding your bladder for that long is not a good thing for your health. Okay, so I think that's gonna be enough. No scale, no pencil, no rubber. If you are that one of a person who carry that pencil box around, it's okay. But I won't suggest that there's no any need of that, like any other need.
Correct. Yes, as you said, a very keen strategies to our participants that what to carry, what not to carry. And I believe that this will definitely help my participants to get their exam done. And the strategies which they have learned today definitely will plays a vital role in their examination. Like whatever they are
Yes.
preparing for, right? Yes. And moreover, like people who are still in dilemma where to start, when to start, so basically LawSikho has started with its judiciary courses. So just go on the website and check them out. It would be a great help. Yes. So before signing off the session, I know there are some participants whose questions I haven't taken, but if you'll start this video from starting, you will, I believe that your questions will get solved easily. Yes, as ma'am has given so many inputs on means writing strategy. Yeah, so before signing off, I would ask my participants to rate this particular session from 1 to 10.
I would like to add one thing more about general knowledge answer writing paper, because
Right.
a lot of time we just focus on writing laws and forget about writing GK. And GK is something which holds a major portion, especially in UP Judicial Services. You get 100 marks, 200 marks paper for the same. So in that case, also what happens is you read a lot of things when it comes to general knowledge. I would suggest this: take one book and follow that book. For example, Drishti, or for example, there's this also Hindi magazine which comes every Pratiyogita Darpan, for example, that is like English. I'm just saying, carry one magazine and start reading them, because you know that if a particular topic is asked, for example, in UP Judicial Service, they'll just give you one topic, current place. For example, if there's this place which is in news, they'll just write the name of the place and you have to write anything about it. You know so much about that place, plus do not go about writing it. Just write that this place has been in news because of this. Over. If they are asking about a person, write everything which is relevant about that person in the current scheme of work. Or probably if the current relevancy is related to the older relevancy, then mention that and this. But do not go about writing this person is from that place she used to play. For example, if it's about a player, just write that she has won this much amount of medal, she is the national level player, and this she has been in news currently because of this. Okay, so GK writing will come if you follow one magazine, because they write it very precisely. For in my case, I followed Drishti, and it's a really amazing magazine if you want to write things, because they explain it in a very concise manner, the concepts also, and the recent developments also. So I would suggest do that. I guess that's it.
Right, right. And moreover, that that practice of learning GK helps you during the interview as well, right? For example,
Exactly.
like they could ask any question from the current affairs, and that basically that should be the habit of particular person, you know.
Yeah,
And
this is
if you're
one
sitting
thing which
for
I'll ask you to make it a habit from day one.
right, correct. So, ma'am, there are so many participants, and if you're comfortable, they are asking for your email ID. If they would have any particular, like, if you feel comfortable, you can share. Else, there's no issue for that.
Okay, no problem.
Basically, session was good as we are getting good comments from the people. And your last insights or your any thought, like thoughtful thing for the judiciary aspirants who are preparing for the judiciary.
As I started this video, do not become the stereotype and do not think that this is the destiny. Okay. There are times when you are chasing something, but you are made for bigger things, right? And you might think that judiciary is the best thing in the world, but do not become a goof, a noob, studying all the time and not getting anything. I have received a lot of people asking me questions, how many hours do we study? It's your knowledge, it's your mind. Maybe I can grasp thing in 3 hours and you can grasp that similar thing in 15 minutes. It's different for different people. So do not go about asking. If you want to study 2 hours, and if that's the threshold you have, study for 2 hours without a break and move around for the entire day. Do something productive, read magazines, read novels, dance, sing, maybe click a photo or something. Do not go into it so deeply that it becomes you and not a part of you. Okay. And remove the doubts which you have about what people have to say. Because when you start preparing, there are a lot of people who will come up to you and you're like, कितने दिन से prepare कर रहे हो, एक question, एक तुम्हारा exam नहीं निकल रहा है. There are people like you. These are the same people who will tell you after your exams are qualified that बच्चा तो बहुत पढ़ता था, इसका तो निकलना ही था. So you need to brush aside all judgments, even from your own side, not from the others, even from your own conscience. You have to brush aside, be whatever and whoever you want, because even after you qualify, judiciary life doesn't end. You have to be a person, right? So start reading, start from wherever you feel like. It's not a simple singular concept that you start from CPC only. And I have been receiving this question too many times. Anyway, so I have been receiving this question a lot of time, that do we have to name it or do we have to do it? Again, I'll say that it depends upon the question. So if the question is about certain major laws, you have to name it and then you have to write what was held in it. If it is about simple question, then just go about writing the ratio of it. As simple as that.
All right. So participants, thank you so much for joining us for today's session. And join us for next webinar on an hour with LawSikho with somebody special. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. And I will just all take care and stay safe. I'm signing off. This is Bhatnagar, webinar executive. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.